to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to talk about some books that I have here that are the most beautiful books I've read. And with that, I don't mean the cover, I mean the story, the inside of the book. Obviously there are some beautiful covers here, but the meaning of this video is to talk to you guys about some of my favorite books that are been so beautiful, heartbreaking and sad, but just left you, you know, when you finished reading a book, that's left you in this like, wow, this was beautiful. That's the feeling that you get, or at least I did, from these books. And I wanted to share because I felt like the world needed to know. So here are some books that I thought was truly, truly beautiful on the inside. The first book I don't think that anyone has missed. It's been all over internet this past year, honestly, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So this is a story that we follow Nora, and Nora lives like a pretty normal life, you know, as one do, and she kind of is feeling depressed. She's kind of, you know, isn't happy with life and her decisions that she's made in life. And she goes into this library that happens to be the Midnight Library, and she gets kind of sucked into these different worlds, different time situations where if she would have chosen this instead of that, this would have happened. She gets to basically try out different lives and see what would happen if I didn't do that, and what would happen if I did that instead of what I did. And it's really, really interesting to see how Nora really gets to experience these stuff and really gets thinking, is would life really be better if I did that, or if I had that, or if I lived here, like would life really be better? And I think it's a beautiful story about realizing that even if you have money, even if you have a partner, even if you have a best friend, if you live in somewhere that it's hot all year round, it doesn't make you automatically happy. Happiness comes from the inside, and you have to work with yourself in order to be happy. Nothing can buy you happiness. I think it's just one of those really important and beautiful stories that really got me thinking, and it really freaking inspired me. And it's also really cool. Obviously we have this fantasy element that she jumps into these lives and gets to see all of these things, but it's also have this really important lesson that even if you have all the money in the world, or you have the best boyfriend or girlfriend, that doesn't make you happy. Like, you have to start working with yourself. And I thought this really taught a lesson, and I can't wait to reread it because it's been a while since I've read it and I loved it so much. It's definitely one of my favorite books that I've read this year. Definitely. I loved this book. The next book I've been talking about so much this year, so you know it's coming. It is, of course, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So in this book, we follow mainly Kaya, who is just a little girl when we start the story. You do end up following her and her family as she grow up. Her family leaves her, and you get to follow her as she kind of handles and grows up and handles life on her own, which is obviously very heartbreaking. She and her family lives in the marsh in North Carolina, I think, or is it South Carolina? I'm not really sure. In the marsh. So they are surrounded by all these beautiful creatures and beautiful scenery of plants, I guess. And Kaya is really, really interested in the marsh and the creatures. So she's all alone when her family leaves her. So she gets to grow up on her own and figure out life on her own. She also has a reputation in this town slash city as the marsh girl. Everyone kind of thinks she's weird, she's funny, she's really weird, she's all by herself, she's interested in the marsh. She's not really this popular girl that people want to be friends with. But this rumor is not true. Kaya is a very, very beautiful and intelligent girl that have a love for the marsh, and she wants to one day write books about the marsh and the lives there. So you get to basically follow her her entire life, as from a little girl until she is all grown up. It also has a beautiful, beautiful love story in here. So I just thought it was a really beautiful book. And what's so funny is that I was not even wanting to buy this. The cover doesn't speak to me at all, but I ended up getting it, and I'm so glad I did, because this is probably one of my favorite books of the year, if not my favorite. I loved it so, so much. It's obviously very sad and heartbreaking, but so beautiful and inspiring. I mean, Kaya, there's a little girl that got left by her family, grown up to be this beautiful and intelligent young woman who is fighting for her dreams. Like, it's truly, truly inspiring. And if you haven't read this, please, please do. I know it's maybe not fitting for this time of year, but in the summer, in the springtime, I am definitely going to reread this because I loved it so much. Next book I'm going to talk about is King and the Dragonflies by Kaysen Callender. This, it was such a beautiful read. We follow King, or he calls himself King, who recently lost his brother very unexpectedly. He was very young and he passed away. And King is really determined that his brother has turned into a dragonfly. And so King sees this dragonfly all over the neighborhood, in school, and he's determined that that is his brother who passed away, that is now a dragonfly. And it might sound weird, but honestly it's a very beautiful story about family dynamics, because you follow King and his family as the brother passes away, and how you handle grief and loss in a very different way. Everyone handles grief and loss differently. Some people, and this is so true, because some people isolate themselves, doesn't want to talk to anyone, doesn't want to do anything, and some people talks to everyone, want to do stuff all the time. And it's just, we all handle and cope with loss and grief in a different way, and that is very important to know. And we get that in this story, how you have to like let a person grieve in their own way. So I just thought it was a beautiful and inspiring, but also of course very, very sad story about King and his family. And it also deals with a lot of like fitting in society, in the neighborhood. It is a little bit about drugs as well, so just be aware of that. But I thought it was a beautiful story. It's also very short. It's a very short book, and I love the cover. The cover is what drew me in. But yeah, a very beautiful and important story about loss and grief, family dynamics, fitting in a society. It was really, really good. The next book you're also gonna guess if you've been watching me for a while, because this is of course on the list. It's one of my most beautiful books that I've ever read and watched, because there is a movie, and the movie is so good. That is Flipped by Wendelin van Dranen. So this is a story about one young girl and one young boy, and we basically get to follow them from when they're really, really young kids until they're teenagers basically. So it all starts when this new boy moves in to be a neighbor to this young girl, and it is so cute. I actually saw the movie first and then I picked up the book because I really wanted to. So this young girl, Juliana, is immediately interested in Bryce, the young boy. And you know, when you're a kid, how you show affection and how you show that you're interested, you know, it's just really, you follow that person, you run around after them, you kind of, you know, as a kid would do. And Bryce isn't interested at all. He wants nothing to do with her. This girl is not really popular, you know, doesn't really have any friends. She's really one of those people that spend a lot of time with her family, are home a lot, and you know, people don't really like her, unfortunately. And Bryce doesn't either. And then you kind of follow their dynamics and their different thoughts and feelings, emotions as they grow up, because things kind of change between them as they grow up, become teenagers. Juliana kind of loses interest in Bryce because she's basically been after him her entire childhood, so she's kind of tired of it, I guess. But Bryce finally like realizes what a great person Juliana is. Like, it's just really this story, beautiful story about realizing your true emotions, and that you shouldn't care what people think because your heart wants what it wants, you know? And because obviously he didn't want to like her because she's not popular, she's not, no one likes her, she's really weird, she has this reputation. But then he notices what a great person she is and what an amazing person she is, and it's just kind of this realization that he gets, and it's just a really beautiful story. And I definitely recommend watching the movie as well. The actors are amazing in the movie, the girl and the boy, I love them so much. The movie can make me cry, like, no doubt. And there is just scenes in here that it's so beautiful. Please read this book. It's also very short. It's easy. Just, you're gonna fly through this. Please read it. The next book is actually a manga, which I originally didn't have on my list, but then I was like, this is definitely gonna be on my list. It's so beautiful. And that is Orange by Ishigu Takano. This is volume 1, but all of the volumes are beautiful. But we basically follow a girl that gets a letter from her future self, and obviously she thinks it's a prank, that someone pranked her, because it would be weird otherwise. But she soon realizes that the letter is real and it's actually from her future self. And in the letter it says a lot of things that are gonna happen, so, and how to prevent these things from happening. So a new boy starts in her class, and in the letter it says that this boy will commit suicide and you have to do something to stop it. So this girl and her friends are trying to really make him not commit suicide and make him feel good and make him like become friends with him and do stuff with him. It's just a really, really beautiful story, I think, about friendship, depression, suicide. I need to reread this because I haven't read a manga in so long. I just haven't been in the mood, but this is truly a beautiful story. And obviously reading a manga is a little bit different, but honestly such a unique experience. And people that say that manga isn't real reading, I highly disagree with you, because of course it's real reading. You have text and you have pictures, and it's such a like, this is even more magical than reading books, honestly, because you get such an immersive experience with pictures. And I love reading manga. I'm gonna read more manga. I just haven't found someone I like. But this is so beautiful and just kind of heartbreaking and exciting as well, because they're obviously on a time limit. They have to do all these things before he commits suicide, as the letter says, because she does figure out that the letter is real, because the things in the letter actually has happened. So definitely recommend this if you're looking for a good manga to read. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually a non-fiction book, but I just wanted and needed to have it in here. I actually haven't read the whole thing, but I read parts of it and I wanted to talk about it, and that is this one. It's called Read This If. It says it's a collection of essays that prove someone else gets it too. And it involves little mini stories or like chapters. So if you're feeling down one day, pick up this and read, because you have different situations. I'm gonna tell you a few so you get an idea of what it's about. Okay, so it has, read this if nobody texted you good morning. Read this if it feels like your depression is getting the best of you. Read this if you're 23 and lost. Read this if you ever wanted to die. Read this if you don't really have an eating disorder, but kind of do. Read this if you're fiercely independent, but also ridiculously emotional. Read this if you think you're finally getting your shit together. Read this if you've stopped believing in love. I could have all of these. Read this if you're feeling that way or that way. And obviously this isn't gonna help with issues like that, but I feel it's just really beautiful and I wanted to pick it up. And I think it's such a cool concept that if you're feeling down that day, you can pick this up and feel like you're not alone and feel like there's someone else out there that also is going through what you're going through. I think that's a pretty amazing thing, and it's a pretty short book, but it has when you're feeling lost or down, and I really think it's a cool concept and a book that I definitely needed to pick up. The next book is kind of cute and beautiful, and that is Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. So this is a very unique book. You actually follow through the wish tree's perspective, so from a tree's perspective, and that may sound weird, but in reality, which I think we forget, trees are life, and trees are alive. They're creatures, they are alive, they're breathing, you know, it's just really cool when you think about it like that. So you follow from the tree's perspective as people come and go, the world, the nature. It sounds really weird maybe, but I thought it was really beautiful and a unique concept. It's a pretty short book. It's gonna be fast, but a very cute and beautiful read. If you're in that mood, I would definitely recommend picking this up. A big text, some pictures. Might be for kids or middle graders, but I just felt the need to pick it up. I thought it was really, really cute. So cute. The last book I'm going to talk about is We Are Okay by Nina Lacombe. So this is a story about Marion, who lived in California, but she moved very like abrupt and unexpectedly to New York to go to college there. And she left her life behind. She left everything behind. Her best friend, her stuff, like she really just fled to New York basically. And she doesn't want to talk to her best friend. She just kind of want to leave everything behind, which you find out why later. But so she kind of moves across the country to flee from her past because she's dealing with something. She's dealing with grief and loss as well in here, which is the main topic, I would say. So just be aware, and you get to follow her as she's kind of coping with life, how she's coping with grief and loss, and how she kind of realizes that I am stronger with people. Like, I'm strong alone, yeah, but I need people, and I can't just run away from things. I need to handle them. And it's a really, like, I feel like it's one of those really beautiful, that really lifts you up and realizes that you're not alone kind of deal. I just thought it was really beautiful. It's also a very short book, and also the cover definitely drew me in when I bought this. But so she's finally realizing that, okay, maybe I should like call back my friends and see how they are, because I haven't talked to them in ages. I just left them behind because I needed time to grieve my loss and to deal with my shit. But also like accepting help, accepting that people can help you. You can isolate and all of that, but people can support you and be really supportive to help you overcome your loss and grief. And it's just really beautiful about friendship and how that can help you overcome things like that are so important. So very, very beautiful story, but also very sad. So just be aware. That was it for this video. Some of the most beautiful books that I've read. If you read any of these, please let me know what you think, or if you got excited to read any of them, please let me know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in one of my next videos. Bye!